else has any other personal updates, which you are welcome to have. I love just hanging out with you guys and chatting, especially after we've been on break. Let's get into this. So last time, y'all finally made it to Downfall. You rode across your magically shrinking boats and made it into into Downfall. You were greeted by 4 different frog people dressed in fluffy and elegant and ostentatious attire. And they welcomed you to Downfall, suggested that you go and see King Gullup, and he would know how to help you with whatever you were here to do. You passed by a balloon, and a rather large, not a hot air balloon, but a swamp gas balloon that was being repaired. I believe it was Kevis, gave a utter death stare to a frog and made it wet itself as it backed up into the pond, thus avoiding a confrontation. And then you immediately went across a river of rocks, or a trail of rocks, kind of allowing you to cross the other side of a small river. And you stepped on a rock man. He argued with you, and though none of you spoke the same language, you were able to get the apology across properly, thus avoiding a fight. And then Kevis fell in the water, disturbing the water and attracting the hunters that lived there. A couple of merfolk with anger, and then with a masterful combination of diplomacy, you guys avoided yet another encounter, all within the space of about 50 different feet. You passed on three fights, so nicely done. Then you followed the source of smoke inside of the mist, and the mist is so thick that you can only see about 20 feet in any direction. And the workers that were fixing up the balloon told you that they need some help putting out the fires that were inside of the factory. So, hence a couple of our backgrounds on Discord right now. Fiery, burning building. We left off with you entering into this balloon factory as it was smoke billowing out the windows and off the tops. And you rushed inside to see a fanciful, pompous-looking frog ordering one other generic kind of like worker-type frog around, telling him to put out all the fires. And as you guys enter into the room, he looks at you and says, "Oh, excellent! You help put it out!" What do you do? Let me give you a description first. Around the room, there are blackened soot marks and little scores of scorching on various wooden surfaces inside of here. There are portions of like table legs that are like crumbled down, and they've become like those kind of crackly, blackened, with like white skittered top, log type look at this point, like a log thrown into the fire. And rolling around, you see a little frog, and he's moving around. He's just hustling and like trying to like run over to these little lightly fired coals, and he's trying to like throw water on them, and they keeps missing. And the little coal rolls out of the way and like goes and like settles and like just kind of vibrates for a second and like causes some flame to erupt in a different portion of the building itself. Oh, and last, just reminded me that I asked everybody to roll initiative. However, with my file migration and stuff, there's a lot that changed, so would everybody please roll new initiative for me?
Give me 1 second. Gotta refresh this stuff.
No worries.
I was refreshing Forge, and it's just loaded.
Sounds good. Alright, and I'll roll for all of our NPCs.
Nice.
All right, Duke, do you want me to roll initiative for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll roll for you. Pretty good. Got a 19. Okay, so starting off at the top, we have one of the coals, and it's going to... oh, okay. Sorry, I made a custom thing, and so now I'm learning how to use it. Okay, so somewhere in the building you hear as some of the fire starts to spread again. Okay, and you see three different of these little fiery coals start to like vibrate and like start additional fires around them. All right, and then we're over to the... Sorry, just getting the first few things rolling here. Then it's the kind of dumpy-looking guy over here, and he runs back over and drops a bucket, an empty bucket, on this table, and grabs another bucket, and waddles over and tries to attack the... tries to throw a bucket of water on top of one of these little fiery coals. And gonna make an improvised attack. And he's not gonna do very good on that. Okay, he throws it in the little fire, rolls out of the way. And he's just... and he puts another bucket down and grabs one other bucket, or like starts to trade out his bucket. And then, Zarius, you are up next.
Right. So, is there buckets like on the ground?
There are 4 buckets over here on this bench table. 2 of them are empty at the moment.
Okay, so I'd like to go over and grab a bucket.
Okay, sounds good.
Come on and move. Gotta click the door.
Yeah, you should be able to move inside after that.
There we go. You said the right here? Over here?
Yep.
Alright. So let's see, I was there, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So I'd like to grab a bucket, and then this is water right here, right?
Yeah, outside, absolutely.
So let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20. So I grab the bucket, and then I'd like to move back towards the water. I mean, since I can't fly, I can't make it, but...
Okay.
So, let's see, I was here, so 5, 10, 15, 20. 5, 10, 15, 20, 20. Come on, not the door. Sorry. I'm trying to click it, but it keeps clicking the door.
Here, let me modify the walls a little bit.
There we go.
So you've got a little bit more space to move. Actually, I'm just gonna get rid of the doors.
Go.
You guys know they're there. Okay, so you're just moving?
45. Yeah, just moving, grabbing the bucket, and then I'm gonna move back towards the water so I can fill it up.
Okay, sounds good. And to go and grab your bucket and like move again, that's a really easy action. So you can use your full movement speed, or you can use your action to dash if you would like.
Oh, okay, then yeah. Oh, I also forgot I also have Step of the Wind. I could have used that too. I'll just use my full movement speed. So let's see, it was 45 to here. So then your full movement speed with the dash, it's doubled, right?
Correct.
Okay, so then that would give me 80. So I'm at 45. That'd be 50. I'll fill up the bucket.
Yeah, easy to do. I'm not gonna make it,
All right.
use an action or anything for that.
55, 60, 65, 70, 75. All right, then I can actually move back, and I move back right here. I like to try to dump the bucket of water on this one.
Okay, that will be an attack action. So you can do that on your next turn.
No worries.
Okay, Pinky, you are up next. And you see, from your perspective, you see 3 different coals just rolling around and like... And there's serious panic in this like fanciful frog's voice, and the other one is like panic in his eyes, and he's like he doesn't feel confident in himself of handling this. And the room is not doing too bad, but like it's like as you step in, like they were trying to put these things out, but like all the coals with the extra presence of your persons, they all seem to vibrate and get a little bit more excited and start rolling around faster. You wonder, kind of answering the potential question of like, okay, if there are these many things in here, why hasn't this place burned down already? And it's because they were kind of dormant. They were not moving very fast before.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna just take a step back. And I can still see this array.
You can see one. Yeah, you can still see that one. Yeah.
Alright, I would like to try, I don't know if this is gonna work, but to druid craft it, to try to instantly snuff out a candle torch or something.
Okay. It's not like a small torch.
Like
it's actually more like an animated thing that has its like own essence. So it won't work quite like that. But go ahead and make a kind of a magical attack roll, and you can use that magic to like dim it down. But since it's not just like it has some level of intelligence, you'll have to treat it like an attack roll, and I'll give you like 1d6. Let's say 1d4 because that's a cantrip and we're bending the rules on it. 1d4 essentially anti-fire damage as you try to put it out.
Anti-fire damage. I don't have like a spell attack.
That's okay. Just make a. What's your spellcasting modifier as a rogue?
She doesn't have one.
I don't have one, I'm a rogue.
Okay, it'll be intelligence in that case. No, actually, because of who Pinky is, it's your charisma bonus. So roll a 20, add your charisma bonus, and no proficiency bonus because this is a very different method of dealing.
15.
A 15. Okay, 15 will hit.
It's just a 1d6.
Yep.
1d4, you said.
Oh yeah, 1d4. Okay, so one damage. So
One
we'll
damage.
keep that. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so 1 damage. It gets slightly dimmer. The coals are not burning quite as hot.
Alright, well that doesn't work, guys.
I'll make sure I don't try it.
Cool.
Me too.
Get my thumb through to get in this building.
Okay. Next up are 3 more of the coals. Which ones are we dealing with? Okay. So that one. That one. Okay. So you guys see 3 more of these fires start up around these coals. And as they start a fire, they move elsewhere to begin the next phase of what they're dealing with. Okay, and there was some fire damage, hitting the hitting the building around them, and they begin to like increased amount of smokes begin to rise up. There is a lovely, you know, beneath the froggy sweat and panic smell, and through the smoke, there is a nice sense of, like, you know, pine and, you know, lovely burning wood smell. Unfortunately, it's far beneath the surface. Okay. Next up is Eli.
Eli is, he's dealt with animated objects before, obviously we have, but on fire. He's confused, and when confusing times come, we use anti-bane. We're gonna bless.
That's good. Who are you blessing?
We're gonna. It's gonna be Zarius, Q, or I don't know, the cat Candace and Pinky.
You went through like 3 different names for one person.
Okay, so Kevis gets blessed.
Kevis.
Kevis.
Zarius and Pinky.
Okay, sounds good.
So whenever you guys make an attack roll, you can add a d4 to it, or a saving throw. You can add a d4 to it. And I don't know. I'm gonna use a little bit of my movement to come over here, and the flame that's in front of Z, I'm going to toll the dead on it.
Okay, and is bless a bonus action?
Hold on a second. You're right. You're right. My bad. I
Okay,
do not
cool.
cast. I do not cast Toll the Dead. You were correct. I thought Toll the Dead was a bonus action, but it is not.
Yeah.
That's it. That is my turn.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Next up is Bane.
I'm gonna move forward here, so next to the little Cole, and I'm gonna bend down and I'm gonna say, "What's going on, little guy? You doing okay?"
All right. You
Does he answer?
kind of like looks up towards you. Not that this thing has a face, but it kind of like rights around and like stares up at you.
I'm going to grab it.
Okay. Make a grapple check, or so there's an unarmed strike.
This is great.
Grab the item that's on fire.
And you have a D4 on top of it.
Wait,
Yep.
but it makes sense
I
why
don't.
he's doing it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
no problem at all. You're able to grab this little thing before it scoots around. It starts to burn your hand. You don't mind so much because you, of course, are resistant to fire. And you take 5 points of fire damage, reduced down to 2. And now you
I'm
have a hot flaming coal in your hand.
I'm gonna run outside, and I'm gonna throw it in the water.
All right. Yep. Just you've got some movement speed. Just.
Oh, that's awesome.
That one is gone.
Oh shit! Boost is gone. Oh god!
The first one to
Alright,
get rid of
so-
a coal.
One of them is gone, and Boost, you're kind of shaking your hand a little bit. It's not too bad. Okay, so this one is just poof. He's out of there.
Stop.
Yep.
Look pretty slick.
Yeah, I'll actually move him.
Super weird question, but why is Zarius on here twice?
Zarius is in there twice.
In the combat tracker?
Yeah. In the combat tracker. It's because when I was loading up, I hit the initiative button, but he had rolled for me, so just that
okay.
one you can ignore.
Okay.
It was just frozen, so I didn't ever send it.
Yep. Okay, cool. Okay, so Moose grabs one, throws it out, and it just sinks into the water below, there's a light glow to it as it plops in. It kind of sinks into the water and just becomes inanimate. All right. Next up is another one of the calls, and he's gonna do his little fire thing and burn the building a little bit and roll to the side. All right, and then. Sorry, there's a lot of little things for me to track right now, so just a moment, I'm catching up. Kevis, you are bringing up the rear.
Cool. I'm gonna move in. Get better luck. Is there anything in the tower that's like a pillar that's pretty sturdy? Nothing that can give a whole lot?
The walls of the tower seem to be, of this factory, seem to be like a thickened mud, probably mixed with different branches and stuff inside of there. There's no like supporting centralized structure. This place looks like it's designed to have a lot of open space to work from.
Cool. Well, I just threw my idea out. Yeah. Okay.
Screw the building. I'm just going to collapse the central pillar and make it all snuff out.
I had a hunting trap. I was gonna put a hunting trap and hope one of them rolled into it to stop it from moving, but
it's valid. Or
Can't be a fire if there's no building.
Is there a leftover bucket up here?
There is.
Or shoot the hostage kind of.
There are two
Anything
buckets.
worse than a bobber. A hostage.
There are two buckets up here at this point, and one of them, this worker frog guy is grabbing one of them. So unless you guys swipe it from him, there's about to be one full bucket and two empty buckets up there. Zarius is the fourth in his hand.
I'm gonna swipe it from him.
I don't know. It sounds like a pinky thing.
I know, I was debating.
It does.
Yeah, Kevis is immediately gonna run over, and if he sees the full one, he's probably gonna go for it, not even paying attention to the frog. But if he can't get the full one, he's just gonna grab one.
Yeah, no problem. And it's just like a free action it's your interaction to grab that and pick it up.
Is it the full or is it the empty? Did I snag it from the frog?
You can identify which one is full and empty. You grab a full one.
Okay.
So now he is grabbing the last full one, then there will be two. No, excuse me. There will be only one empty bucket on the table after the frog guy grabs his.
Okay. I can't throw water though, right? Okay.
No, you still can.
Okay.
Because that was just like free action. It's like drawing your weapon.
Yeah, this guy. I'm gonna throw water at him.
Okay, cool. Make an unarmed or make an improvised attack. So that's roll your d20 and add your dex modifier. Do not add your proficiency because you are not proficient in water buckets.
Says you.
Natural 20.
Natural 20. Okay, awesome. Roll
24.
Roll a 1d6 and then double it.
You said D6?
Yep.
That's a D4.
You should be able to do that just in the chat options right below. Ooh. Alright, natural 20. Okay, so you hit this one with such force that it actually like stops moving. And the water kind of like splashes out and like hits a plank of wood that's like up on its side and like splashes back and like reverbs and takes out the little fire that it had created right next to it.
Ah.
Okay. All right. So that is Kevis's go, and then at the top of the new round, each fire that is started is going to do its own bit of damage. go. Okay, so that's... The first one is going to deal 2 damage. Gosh dang it, I keep hitting the wrong... I am fat fingering like crazy today, guys. Okay, so the first one, 2 damage. Second one, 1 damage.
This to the tower.
Yeah, this is all to the tower. The third one, 2 damage. One damage, 2 damage, 2 damage for a total of 5 from the just pre-existing fires. Okay, and then we are back up at the top. And we have this guy who he's going to do his little burn. It's going to be 3 points of damage, and he's going to create a new fire and roll on. And then that is 5 points of damage and a new fire. And then 3 points of damage and a new fire. Okay, and then it is over to the Bullywug guy. And he's going to make his attempt at dousing the same one that Kevis did. Alright, so that's going to be 20. Alright, yep, and he'll hit, so awesome. He'll hit with a dirty 20. That is 5 points of fire of water damage to the one over by Kevis attacked, and it goes out. Just becomes completely submerged and becomes an inanimate thing once more. Okay, and then we are over to Zarius. You've got a bucket of water in your hands.
So move over here, and I'd like to dump it on that one.
Okay, sounds good. Sure, and that's the one. That's one of the ones that just had its turn, so it actually moves more like over here. Yep. So go ahead and make your attack. D20 plus your dexterity modifier, no proficiency.
Okay, and that's a +5, so that my modifier is +5, so that's 10, and then I have a D4, right?
Yeah, you got
You
one.
do have a D4, which could do it. A 10 does not hit, though.
Let's see, where's this stupid dice at?
If you're in the
D4.
chat, there's a series of dice right underneath.
Yeah,
4.
I see it.
Okay, so,
I had to look for the D4.
okay. 14 is its armor class. So you successfully hit it. Go ahead and roll a D6. Okay, 3 points of water damage. This one doesn't seem terribly distraught at that amount. And it's kind of a larger one, and it continues to roll away a little bit slower, much dimmer, of course. And now all of the 4 buckets are currently empty. Pinky, over to you.
Hold on, I still have movement.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you still got stuff to do. Yeah, go for it.
Right, because I only moved 10 feet, so that I'm going to take my bucket and I'm going to move back outside. So 5, 10, 15. So I went 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45.
Cool. Yeah, you're able to get out there and just do a quick scoop and get a new full bucket.
Alrighty, and that is my turn.
Okay, now we're over to Pinky.
You know, I said I wasn't gonna try it again, but the buckets are currently in pink.
That is not true. Zarius has a bucket, Kevis has a bucket, the frog has a bucket, and there's one empty bucket on the table.
The question is, would you allow us to take somebody else's bucket? Like, don't just take the bucket? Or would it be like a
You
There
can
are.
try.
I can try? What?
If you're trying to take the NPC's bucket, you can try.
Of course, I'm not gonna
There's-
steal somebody's bucket.
There's one empty one on
Okay.
the table right next to him as well.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, there's 4 empty buckets. One of them is on the table.
Yep, right over here.
Canvas was just a dick and took the full one from the frog before he could grab it. He didn't steal it. He just got there first.
Yeah, he's just grabs the one next to it. And the whole time, the fancy frog, he's not doing a damn thing.
That was my
Other
next
than
question.
Shouting orders at you guys. Over there! I see one over there! Go get it! Make sure it doesn't burn down more of my factory!
Okay, well, I
Oh,
guess
boy.
I'll just go take this bucket.
Alright, empty bucket in hand.
Bucket in hand, and I'm gonna use my bonus action dash to go all the way back here.
Alright, Pinky gathering a empty bucket and zipping around. Okay, next up is the Cole's turn, so that's gonna 3 of them in a row. It's gonna be 2 points of damage, 4 points of damage for a total of 6, and then oh nope, this one's dead. Let me get him out of there. Okay, so 6 points of damage, and they both create their own little fires and move along. And I'll get those new fires set up here in a sec. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, next up is Eli.
Yeah, I'm gonna step a little bit more into this room here. Oh, holy shit. Okay. So, this is oh, the one I was looking at is gone now. Okay. Did he move?
Yeah, the one that was up here in the corner, he moved.
Weird.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to make sure that I'm putting up the new lights and movement of them after their turn is over, because otherwise you could
Okay.
just be waiting around for me for a sec.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm not gonna move then because I was just trying to avoid hitting the frog.
Okay.
But I have line of sight on this one right in front of me, right?
Yep, you do.
I'm going to Eldritch Blast it.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your attack.
Ye-
Alright, that'll hit. Go ahead and roll your damage.
That's 8 points of force damage.
Alright, 8 points of force damage. Yeah, I'm gonna, it's an inanimate object, so you hit it and it bursts apart most of it, and scattering several pieces of the coal just into small enough pieces that they kind of like pop into the air, and then by the time they fall to the ground, they've become inert, and but doesn't seem to have as much of an effect as you thought it would. But there's like, it's essentially like a pebble now remaining of this thing that's like still floating around.
Wait, what?
You
This thing. Wait. Okay. All right. No, I'm good. I got you. No, it's good. I got you.
Yeah.
So, all right, and then I end my turn.
Okay, cool. Next up is Moose. You're outside and you successfully threw and
Yeah, I'm gonna run back inside.
okay.
I think I can get to there. And do I see this little guy on the ground here in front of me then?
You
I
do.
see.
Just a tiny little thing by itself now.
I'm gonna grab him.
Okay, you can grab him and roll an attack or grapple check.
Dice are really slow. 15.
15, yeah, that'll do it. You scoop it back up, and it sizzles in your hand a little bit. You take 1 point of damage. This thing is very small at this point.
And I think I have 5 feet of movement left, so I'm gonna.
Okay, you're gonna
Oh my
do it and
goodness.
do a long range toss.
I mean, no, it's probably safer for me to at least get outside with him. So
Okay. Cool, so you're just holding on to it.
What are you doing?
Okay, sounds good. Next up is another one of the coals. Why do I keep putting the dice that I need in with the other dice? I should just leave it out. Okay, that one's gonna do 3 points of damage to the factory and start its own fire and move into a new spot. Alright, Kevis, you are up.
Question: how is the tower looking?
It's starting to look a little bit rough. Like, there's several different parts that have all, like, started to climb up the walls, maybe about a quarter of the way up. And you're starting to hear structural groans. There is, like, a new table. This table over here is looking pretty hammered just by the proximity of these other fires, and it just kind of snaps in half and crumbles.
Okay, you said this guy's just sitting here screaming, not doing shit?
Absolutely.
Okay, Kevis is immediately gonna look at him and be like, hey, Prince Charming, instead of sitting there screaming, why don't you help? And Kevis is gonna continue to just run out to get to the water to fill the bucket.
Roll an intimidation check. Oh!
It's a 7.
That's a 7. I have full confidence in your abilities!
Kevin's just gonna shake his head.
Responds with.
So, is it an action to fill the bucket, or we can't?
No, the bucket, it's just a quick, yep, no problem.
Actually, I don't know. I already did this, but tell me if I can do this. As I run past Moose, can I hold the bucket out to have him try to throw that coal into the bucket as I'm running to the water?
Yeah, you can essentially, like, prep it for him so that it's just a free action for him to take it on his turn.
No, what I'm saying is the coal that he's holding, just hold the bucket out so he can drop the coal in there as I'm continuing to the water to fill the bucket up. I can dump the coal in as I go to fill the bucket.
Oh, okay, it's like a pass off.
Yep.
Yeah, no problem. Easy to do if what do you say to Moose as you're running by?
I'll just look at Moose, and as I'm running by, hold the bucket out and be like, hey, drop it in here, and just continuously moving and hope Moose does.
Moose, yeah, definitely turns and drops it in their free action, I assume.
Yeah, no problem. Easy to do. Okay, so Kevis has a bucket and Kevis, as it's in there, you scoop it up and there's about an inch or so of the water that disappears from the top of it, and it goes inert, and the light goes out, and you've got a little piece of coal in the bottom. Just not doing anything. You got a water bucket with a rock in the bottom.
I'm gonna use my action to just dash to get. I'll trust this tower. I guess get back to the frog I was by.
Okay, sounds good.
I feel like I'm gonna regret this. It's my turn.
Alrighty. Next up is 3 of the coals. They're gonna do their thing. That's 2 points of damage. 2 points of damage. These guys are rolling low this time. And 4 points of damage. Where's this one? Okay. Sounds good. And let me just set up those lights real quick. Okay, and then it's over to the worker frog, and he's got his bucket that he just threw out, and he's gonna go and 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, fill up his bucket, and then he's gonna rush back in. 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. And as he gets over here, he hands his bucket to Moose. I'll fill them. You douse them.
The absolute genius.
Okay, Zarius, you are up next. You're at the water. You have a full bucket.
Back inside. I have a question. So, like, these flames right here, they're just burning?
They are burning.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
So-
All the flames except for 3, because I added 3 new ones at the top of the round. So at the top of the round, the fire just begins to climb higher. So let me count how many I've got. 1, 2, 3. Okay, these flames on the outside are starting to be a big problem. They're all burning themselves.
Alrighty. So then,
Okay, Pinky, over to you. Or sorry, Zarius' turn.
Yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna take the bucket and I'd like to try to douse these flames with it, not like one of the embers, but the actual flames themselves.
Okay, go for it. Roll your attack. The higher your attack, the better spread you have to put them out.
Righty, so a d20 plus my modifier, right?
Yeah, plus your dex.
Plus my deck, so that's 15, and then I'm gonna use my bless.
Yep.
That's 15 plus, where's the d4?
Okay,
So
so
16.
All right, you successfully like throw it onto the water in a way that it kind of skids, or you throw it onto the ground, and the ground like sloshes in a good measure, and 3 of the flames are extinguished with a hiss and a growl as you start to hear little cracklings and
Alright, so then I'm gonna spend a
complaints.
key point to use Step of the Wind, and that way I can use dash as my bonus action to dash back to the water.
Okay, sounds good.
And then I will refill up the bucket.
Okay, new bucket. Sounds good. Pinky, you see Zarius just zooming past you, and you have a full bucket or not yet?
No, I don't.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, I'll go to the water.
Okay. So you dip down and scoop it up, and because of your size, this thing, an empty bucket,
Oh
no
my
problem.
goodness!
But you're tiny, and you fill up the bucket. It's like, oh boy, that's heavy. So you move at half speed, as if like a normal-sized person was carrying another person.
I'm just gonna, go back and give this bucket to somebody else. This prop.
Sure.
I'm gonna be like, this is heavy for me. Please take it.
Okay. And he grabs it and starts looking around for something he could do with it. Okay, the next coal is already dead. It's inside of Kevis's bucket. And then the next guy, he is gonna do his little burn, just... and that's 3 more damage. And he's gonna start a fire and move on. Eli, your turn.
Okay. I'm gonna run in front of these 2 guys, and I'm gonna start glowing and cast Word of Radiance.
Okay. Okay. And they have to make a con save?
Constitution saving throw.
Okay, first one coming in at a 9.
Okay.
Second one coming in at a 2. Okay, so they both fail.
They both fail. and they both take 1 point of radiant damage.
All right, 1 point of radiant damage to the both of them. It's a little bit strange to see you flash out in your familiar light, and the light kind of hits on them, and you see white glowing, or excuse me, bright purple flames kind of like falling on top of their orangish reddish flames and dealing damage. And when they spread, there's a little bald spot where the fire is no longer functioning. Like fire burning fire.
Yeah.
Okay, Moose, over to you. You have
What they say, you gotta fight fire with fire.
Yeah, I'm gonna move over next to this little flame here, and I'm gonna throw my bucket of water on it.
Okay, go ahead and make your attack roll. You can use your strength modifier on top of your D20.
18 to hit.
18, that'll definitely hit.
D6.
D6, yep. Okay, 2 points of damage as you douse it. About half of this thing is now cooled off, and it's kind of like rolling awkwardly and unevenly. This one does not go out yet.
As a bonus action, a pitchfork appears in my empty hand.
All right. Are you spiritual weaponing?
I am.
Nice. Okay.
It's a 23 to hit for
23.
6 force damage.
All right. Because of the how do you want to do this one?
Yeah, just a pitchfork appears in my hand. I'm just gonna stab down at this thing with it in my hand. Although I'm not actually holding it, but Bane doesn't really know where this came from, and he's just kind of excited to have it.
In a moment of desperation, it's like, oh gosh, I just want this thing to get gone. You just instinctually just like drive down like you're gonna punch it, and instead there's a kind of a smoky apparition, and this pitchfork appears instead, and like halfway down you're like, okay, and like you just thrust down with your hand, and it comes and stabs in the floor, pulls up, and the little coal is stuck on top of it, and it like, and it just kind of wriggles around on the spike for a minute, and it's like you've got a kebab.
And then I'm going to use the rest of my movement to run back and swap buckets with the frog.
Okay, sounds good. You've got a new full bucket. He's got a new empty bucket. Okay. Next up is one of the coals. It's going to do its thing. And that'll be 3 points of damage. Whoops. Come on, Morgan, stop fat fingering. Just for a little while. Okay, so it does its bit, and then it moves on as well. Okay, and then Kevis, over to you.
I hate this guy in front of me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Actually, I have a full bucket. As I'm going, so Kevis is gonna move to this one. But as he runs by this guy, he's going to take the bucket. Be like, so if you want to keep your tower, you should probably take care of the fire. Force him to take the bucket. And as I'm going, I'm pulling my swords out to take 2 hits at this one.
Okay, you see he's got like a cane in his hand, which he continues to like shake around, and you like shove the bucket into his chest, and like he kind of like fumbles and his cane drops to the floor. He's like, well, I never. He's just...
Well, you should.
Wow.
You want your tower?
Yep. All right, Kevis, you go.
All right. Oh, wrong thing. 15.
Yeah, 15 will hit. Yep. So you come down with your sword, just trying to break this thing apart into small enough pieces that
Hey,
it'll
max
stop being
damage.
effective. Okay. 10 piercing damage. Okay, this one you come down, even with it being resistant. You come down and like you use the flat side of the blade, just come down, and it just crushes into more like a powder that cannot continue to sustain itself. All right, and that one's gone too. And at this point, with Kevis, kind of where you're at, and it being the top of the round, this place is getting hot, and smoke is starting to fill the air, and you take 5 points of fire and smoke damage. Just you're being kind of surrounded, and you're kind of moving yourself towards an entryway that has even more, or a space further in that has even more fire than you've seen yet so far. Okay. Next up is one of the calls. It's going to do its thing. Little rumble and burst, and that's 4 points of damage. Next one is dead, so I'll remove it. And that one is dead as well. Okay, so 4 points of damage. Oop, and then at the top of the round, Eli, you are standing next to a fire as well, and that'll give you 3 points of fire damage, just from the proximity as you guys are rushing around in this. And then oh, Constitution saving throw. Okay.
Concentration.
All right. Yep. Okay, that little coal is gonna rumble and move to the side, and then it's the turn for all the fire damage around to get its go. Okay. And it climbs even higher. The building is groaning incessantly, and looks like it doesn't look terribly stable anymore. Okay, back at the top, the Bullywood guy, he has an empty bucket in his hands because he just swapped with Moose. He's going to come over here. He's going to grab a new bucket and come. He's actually going to. No, okay, what's he doing? It's 15 feet of his movement. He's going to come over. And that's 30 feet of his movement. He's going to come over here, and he's going to give his bucket to Eli. If Eli wants it.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna be shocked by it. Like, oh god.
Yep. And then he uses his dash to go back 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. And he will grab the empty bucket from Pinky and head back to the water. Okay. Zarius, you are up and you've got a full bucket in your hands.
Let's go. We can move. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Now I can see what the hell's going on in here. 30, 25, 30, 35. Let's move right here. And that'll be 40 here. I like to try to throw the water on the flames right here.
Okay, sounds good. Once again, do the same thing. You do have Bless on, so add that.
What was that? Was it a 9 or a 6?
That's a 6, so that'll get you up to 11.
So 6,
Your dex
11,
mod.
and then the D4, right? That's what it is.
Mhm. Okay, so that'll be 13, so you throw a bucket, not quite as skillfully as last time, and you get 2 of them gone.
Okay, and then, so I'm going to do the same thing, because I don't want to stay here in the smoke and die, so I'm going to use another key point and use Step of the Wind and dash back outside.
Okay, sounds good.
And then, oops. Come on. Move away from the wall. Good lord. He kept telling me I was colliding with the wall. Okay. Alright, I'll fill up the bucket again.
Okay, Pinky, over to you. You do not have a bucket currently. The frog grabbed it and ran back to the water. What are you doing?
Yo, when is this building coming down?
No.
And a quick point. Your druid craft did not work on the coals because they were animate things. These fires that they are leaving behind are not.
Alright, guess I'm gonna start taking out some fires. Starting with that one.
Alright, yeah, easy enough. You can spend your turn doing your druid craft and just the flames itself. And they just extinguish with kind of a puff of smoke.
Yay, I'm on fire.
Eli is no longer on fire.
Oh, cool.
Alright.
I can get fires, guys. You can stop coals, but you might want to stop these fires too.
Yep. Okay. Eli, over to you. No
I have-
living. You got a bucket.
I have a bucket.
I feel like we just discovered Eli's battle cry.
I feel like Kevin just hears Eli next to him. I got a bucket.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna move through and try to find another one of these coals. What's that's 5, 10, 15. I can move a little bit. 20 and 25. And then from here, I would like to yeet this fucking bucket at the one that's in front of me.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead and roll your attack. Add your dex mod. And that's it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Natural 20.
Ooh, nice.
Alright. Eli is thrilled to have a bucket. He feels this bucket. This bucket is a part of him. And he throws it with such force. Go ahead and roll your 1d6 and double the damage.
Yeah. So 10.
10, okay. Yeah, you douse it, and it with such force that the little coal extinguishes it instantly, rolls back and like cracks against the wall and falls into 2 or 3 pieces. And the water splashes out to either side and actually puts out 2 more of those fires that are sitting around. All right.
I need another bucket. Give me another one. Give me another one.
Kevin's just. What?
There's a part of me that's like, you don't want another bucket. That bucket is cursed. You feel empty if you don't have that bucket.
Kevin's just sitting there with 2 swords in his hand, just dumbfounded at what he just saw.
By now, it shouldn't surprise you. Eli, as weird as he is remarkably competent in the strangest situations.
It's true.
Moose, over to you.
This is gonna run over towards the center of the room so he can get around this wall and see what's going on. But he's gonna turn back to the frog behind him, who's obviously incompetent, and I'm just gonna grab the bucket out of his hand that Kevis had handed him, and then I'm going to.
That is an empty bucket.
It's an empty bucket.
No, it's a
I
full.
thought it was a full.
I gave him a
bucket.
full one.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Make him do
Yeah,
something.
I'm gonna run up to Eli. And now I've got 2 buckets, 2 full buckets, and I'm gonna be like, Eli, take a bucket, and I'll hand him 1 bucket.
Okay, sounds good.
and then I am going to use my bucket on this flame right here.
Okay, go ahead and roll your attack.
Uh, 11 plus something?
Your strength mod.
2, so 13.
2. Okay, so that's good enough. 2 or 13 will douse the 2 flames in front of you as intended.
Yay, I'm not on
Toss it
fire.
out and there's a little bit of like steam that comes and hits your face immediately after.
Are there any flame people around? These little coal people?
From your perspective, no. You can't, but there is another room that you're nearby that you can't see the entirety of. So, possible.
Okay.
Okay, so you used your bucket. Next up is little flame guy. He's doing his thing. And does 3 points of damage, and then rolls around to the other side. And then Kevis, over to you.
What the fuck are these things?
And yep, Kevis, you can't see Mike, or excuse me, Eli. You do see, from your perspective, there is like kind of a broken, already collapsed portion of the wall in front of you, right about where you threw your bucket. There is water on the outside, and then there is a room over to your left.
Wait, what? My left.
No,
Here?
I was talking to Eli.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was like, what?
I said Kevis, my bad.
I think Kev is very confused on what the fuck is going on. He's gonna yell towards Moose and Eli. Are there any of these other little shits around? I don't know if they can
respond on the same turn.
Yeah. For short conversation, you guys can talk to each other.
Just in his head, just say yes.
Not helpful, but confirms your question. Alright, what are you doing? Kevis, you see a little flame right over here.
I don't have a bucket.
Nope.
I mean, I heard Eli say yes. Kevin's gonna be like, that's so helpful. Knowing that Eli went this way, I'm just gonna run down to the stairs. Oh boy.
You can start to see.
That changes. You know what? So I can see Eli now.
You're
Yes,
right on top
he's
of
right
it,
in
yeah.
front.
Cool.
And Eli has a bucket.
Would I know?
He has one full bucket and one empty bucket.
Oh no, I threw the one bucket. It's
Yeah, he
fucking
yeeted
out.
one.
Oh, okay. So there's an empty bucket against the wall
Threw the bucket.
Would I know?
through the water. You're just like
No, I threw the
What is-
bucket.
you shot put the bucket itself.
Do I know if Eli can't? The movement speed's not the greatest, right?
I mean,
Eli's speed. Well, the dude drags his toes underneath
Yeah.
his
So
chainmail.
as I run by, I'm gonna put my hand on him and cast Longstrider on him.
Okay.
And do I see this fucking shot-putted bucket that Eli?
You do. There's a slightly dented bucket over here against the wall.
Oh boy.
Yep. And Longstrider, Kevis, correct me if I'm wrong. Your movement speed is doubled.
No, it just increases. It increases by 10.
By 10. Okay,
Oh.
you have 10 extra movement speed right now.
it doubles my movement speed. No, I'm joking.
Oh god, it's bad down here.
Lasts for an hour.
Some of the
Last for an hour.
the wind magic that you've seen Kevis focus on his attacks now kind of flows through you, and your ears, long as they are, start kind of flapping in the wind behind you, and you feel like you got a little spring in your step.
Is that a concentration spell, or is it just an effect? Oh,
An
hell
hour.
Yeah. Hell yeah! I'm gonna be a speedy little fucking guy.
Okay, Kevis, what are you doing?
Oh,
You got
God.
flames surrounding you. Got another room that you haven't checked out.
Yeah. And the tower looks horrible, right? Like it's creaking and.
It's looking rough.
Kevin's just gonna look at him and be like, "I'm gonna go get a bucket because this is bad," and then he's gonna turn back.
So with you don't have enough time to do this on this turn because you cast a spell, which was an action item.
Right, yeah.
Okay. You can come over here and grab the bucket, and there's a crack in the wall, probably about 2 feet wide. You could like lean out and like scoop new water up into the bucket. You couldn't do any more than that this turn, though. You'd have to be like lay on your belly to like reach down to the water below.
And we know how well Kevis and water is, so let's do that.
This wasn't a trap that I set up for you specifically at all.
I mean, Kevis would probably do that. God damn it.
Fall
Yeah.
down.
Okay. Roll a dexterity check.
Oh, come on!
Or an acrobatics check, just to see if the dice hate you today regarding water.
12.
You're fine.
Okay. Does Kevis die to fire or drown? Let's figure that out.
Kevin's front.
Okay, so Kevis, you are prone at this point, and you have a bucket.
You also have you are blessed, by the way. You could add a equal.
Oh, it is a
Yeah.
save. Well, is there a reason? Man.
Oh, that's a check, not a saving throw. So would not.
Oh, yeah, that's a check. My bad. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Moving up to the top. So, Moose and Eli, you are surrounded by a couple of fires. Well, technically, Eli, you're surrounded by 2. You take, what am I doing here? 2 points and 2 points. So you take 4 points of fire damage. Moose, you take 2, reduced down to 1.
Is that 2 separate hits or is it 1 hit for me?
Those 2 separate hits.
Okay then. Okay. You guys are no longer blessed.
All right. Yeah, like as you're seeing this and you're like, yeah, this is great. And some of the wind is like kicking up around you. There's a piece of the wind, like flame that gets caught in the wind and comes up and like singes your face pretty bad. You go, ah! And you stop focusing. Okay, so I'm gonna take the bless off of everybody. And Pinky as well. Okay, next up is the Bullywug. He's going to move 5 feet, and then 5, 10, 15, 20. Actually, he's going to say, around the back, on the docks! He's going to grab his bucket. He's going to go 5, 10, 15, 20. He's going to jump in the water and start swimming. 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. And he's going to jump up on the back side of the dock. He's going to move forward 1 more space. He doesn't have enough movement to do anything, but Kevis, you see this froggy guy just and like jumps out with a bucket on the other side.
I feel like since Kevis has dealt with shit underwater, he would be very scared for a couple seconds.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're like, what the fuck? Is it a snake? Oh no, it's that guy. Okay, fine. Okay, and that is the top of the round. So the active fires get to do their deal. Okay. And that is 10 points of damage based on those ones. And then Zarius, you are up.
Alrighty, so this will went around the side. No, I can't fly. Never mind. Forgot, I can't fly it. So, let's see. Let's move there. I got my bucket, so that's 30. Good Lord, stop hitting the wall. see him there. And where's Pinky at?
Pinky, you just passed her. She's in the other room.
Oh. All I can really do is throw the water on this one.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead and roll your attack.
Cut.
25.
Whoa!
All right. You're like, this one's not very big. You pour out like half of the bucket. You know, like you still have a half a bucket of water.
Great.
Yep. And how much of your movement speed was that?
That's all but 5 feet, so I'm just going to move right here.
Okay, and you do see a little bit of fire on the right and the left of Eli, and kind of because of the natural 20, you could attack one of those as well with the other half. The DC is a little bit higher, but
okay, I will try the one on. That's the left, right?
Yeah,
Or is that my right? That's the one
that's your perspective, right?
Right, from my right. Okay, and so D20, right?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, there was a
75.
natural 1 there for a second. Okay, so yeah, you're able to throw the bucket of water. It just sails right over to Eli's head and douse that up.
Oh, he got me wet.
No. Nope. Okay. Anything else?
And I'm not going to use my. No, I'm not going to use my last key point. So.
Okay. The sleeping bird, throws a bucket of water a couple times. Sits there panting. All right. Next up is one of the remaining coals.
Isn't it Pinky's turn? Pinky's after me.
Pinky's turn. You are correct. My bad. She's so small, I just forget about her.
Alright. 20. Oh, there's Eli.
Hi. I have a bucket.
And you're fast.
When shit is flowing around me.
So glad. Can I take Zarius's empty bucket?
You could.
Zarius,
Yeah,
give
you
me your
absolutely can.
empty bucket, please. Thanks.
Give it
And
to
I'm
her.
going to bonus action so I can actually make it up here.
Yeah, you see Kevis laying on the ground and like grabbing new water, so that's easy enough to put together that that's an option.
Kevis, can you fill this one up too? I'm just gonna set it down.
Sure.
And, thanks! I'll, Druid craft fight.
Okay, cool. Yeah, very similar to last time. It just takes a moment, but it dies down gradually, just in just about a matter of a second or so.
Completely forgot you could do that.
There we go. Okay.
Alright, that'll be my turn.
Okay, now it is the coal's turn, and it's gonna rumble and pop for 3 more damage. Yep. And it starts yet another little fire.
Why did we volunteer to deal with this?
Okay,
feel
Eli.
like-
People in danger.
I feel like the time
Over to you.
should be we didn't start the fire.
Nobody shot fire, right? Moose doesn't shot fire.
Exactly. We didn't start the fire.
I had a light that looked like a fire. So I'm gonna, with a zip in my step, I'm gonna run through the fire and the flames, and kind of get in the middle of all of it, right? I don't know. Do I
Okay.
take damage for running through fire?
No, it'll just be at the bottom of the round.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna like kind of half-ass jump up and splash the water straight down to try to make a wave to clear out everything around me.
Okay, you have a full bucket because Moose gave you one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, roll a d20. Same thing. The higher your roll is, the more that you will douse.
Ah,
Oh. So close to that 18.
So close.
Ha! No, that didn't work too well. You get 1.
Okay.
And it'll be maybe this one right over here.
It is the front that counts.
Okay, and then Eli, there's another break in the wall. This one looks purposeful. That leads out to some sort of dock on the other side. You do see flames on the dock itself.
Oh,
So what? I moved 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I mean, yeah. Can I get through the hole?
Where does it
Is
put
it
you?
back?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you can move through it, no problem.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Oh,
So
here,
I'm
let
gonna-
me fix the wall so you don't collide with it awkwardly.
It just lets me out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Right. And then can I still just reach down and fill this bucket back up?
For a free action, yeah, you can. You
Okay,
are
cool.
you are essentially standing directly on a flame.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
That's my turn.
All right, Moose, over to you. You have a full bucket or no buckets? I don't think you have a bucket right now.
I have an empty bucket.
It's an empty bucket.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
And I'm gonna. Yeah, I'll step in the room and I'll look over with Kevis. He's got a bunch of buckets. I'll be like, "Thanks, Kevis," and I'll throw him my bucket.
Yeah, you take the
Literally,
Kevis
Kevis is-
manages to get one up and like put it next to him and start to move up, and Moose is yoink.
no problem, guys. It's fine.
Got 3 buckets. Just keep filling them up.
Yeah, there's 2 empty buckets next to Kevis at this point. And
Does
Moose,
he
you
have a full bucket? Okay.
Yeah, he does have
And 1 full bucket.
So
Now you have it. But
I'm a bucket now, anyways.
here. And then I think that's my movement.
Okay.
I still don't
You-
see the little.
Yep. Yep. There's the little coal is like sitting behind the barrels, just kind of shivering around.
Can I hit that from the?
Yeah. The buckets, the barrels there aren't very high, so you could do like an over the top thing. So yeah, go ahead and roll your attack.
$10.
Okay, 10 is not enough to get the coal itself. It rolls out of the way and goes behind the barrel, but you do douse the flame kind of that it had started in between the barrels.
And I don't know where my pitchfork is at. I don't think I can actually carry it around.
You can move it 20 feet.
Sure, just because I don't have a token for it yet, let's just say it's like look around and you're like, oh, it's right there.
Yeah, can I move it over into position to take a hit at it? Or all?
Because of where you started your turn, let me see. What's the movement speed on it?
20 feet?
Yeah, you could do that. Just enough movement speed. So go ahead and roll your attack.
That's gonna stick into the wood.
Yeah, and you punch your fist forward again, and it just like sticks into the top of the barrel. That's not what I wanted.
Yeah, that's it for Moose. I think he's gonna kind of growl at it just angrily, having
Okay.
done nothing effective that turn.
All right. Next one up is the last coal, or the coal, and it's gonna burn for 3 and kind of setting another part of the dock next to Eli. Oops.
Uh-oh.
That sounds like something.
Yeah, I just elbowed my water bottle off, and it fell down and broke a plastic bowl that was sitting on a ceramic plate. The plate is fine. And the bowl was free, so not a big deal. Okay, so it comes and
Really
burns.
adds to the sound effects though, with you smashing things and.
Oh yeah, this is just total ambience. There's like things crashing and collapsing all inside this building at this point.
And Kevis is on his stomach with his arm out a tower.
Yep. Kevis, it's your turn.
Fun.
And you're on bucket duty?
Apparently I'm the water boy here, okay.
Reach that water down there.
So I have Moose took my only full bucket. Is that what happened?
Two empty buckets.
Yeah, Moose took your full bucket. You got 2 empty buckets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm prone, so I lose half my movement.
Yep.
Fucking Christ.
You can fill up another bucket for your free action.
Alright, fuck this. Kevis is completely over this shit. To the point where he's going to take free action, fill the bucket. He's going to stand up, turn and look at Zarius. This is for you. Sets it down, casts Zephyr Strike, and makes a beeline into this room.
Okay.
So wait,
What are you doing with your Zephyr Strike?
that is, I have 30 feet of movement. So I had 15,
Okay.
so that's 45 in total.
Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think once he gets into the room, he sees what? Sees the opening. Wait, is this cold dead up here?
It's not. It's
Oh.
running away from you.
Never mind. Kevis is making a beeline straight for it
Okay.
and taking a hit. I can get
Okay. Grabbing your 2 swords off the floor. Yeah, go ahead and roll your strike.
oh, 16.
Okay, 16 hits. Go ahead and roll your damage. Oh, it's at advantage because
Oh,
you have
yeah.
Zephyr Strike on. Okay, so you do deal damage. Go ahead and
30, 20.
roll again just to... Okay, dirty 20. Okay, yeah, you definitely hit it. You see where it's coming out the other side, and you slash down and crush it. And I think you get a extra D8 on your damage. So go ahead and roll that.
3.
Okay. Yep, this coal goes completely dark. Just the wind coming down and just like smothering it, like it just completely, and it goes dark.
By any chance, since it's Zephyr Strike and I move very quickly, does wind help against the flames that are around?
Roll a D100 for me.
Oh boy.
Or makes them bigger.
I was about to say this.
54.
Yeah.
54. That is very close to being in the negative category. Okay. 50 above 50% is helpful. Below 50% is detrimental. So, roll a 1d4 for me.
3.
A 3? Okay. So yeah, you come in and it was a really high roll in the first place. And you move over and just like as you calm down, just the enormity of your air pressure just comes out and moves. You're kind of like blown back for a second. Your wings kind of flap open behind you to tuck them back in. And that room, it's like a little concussion when not just and it douses the 3 items in the room itself. Eli, make a Constitution saving throw for me.
Oh shit. I was gonna say fuck your buckets, but
You're fine. From the crack, or from the small doorway that you just came out of, you feel, and like you have to like put your hands on like the posts next to you to like keep from falling in. But it's like you had like a direct vacuum or anti-vacuum line just pressuring you from behind. You stay up.
The
no.
fuck was that?
you just hear Kevis. Sorry.
All right. Okay. So that's the end of Kevis's turn. The remaining flames. There's 4 of them. They deal 1 point of damage each. And this portion of the wall just begins to crumble. And everything in, like, that is borderline to the dock is now completely exposed. This side has been taking the fire damage longer than everything else. So I'm just getting rid of the wall right now.
This is fine.
As he says, standing in fire.
I am standing in fire.
Yes, you are. And in fact, the room that Lily is in as well, or Pinky is in as well. That also collapses, almost as like a chain reaction, and it all falls. And there's several cracks that show up in the dock itself, and the whole tower begins to lean towards the water. And seems to stabilize to some degree.
90 Tower 2.0.
All right. Eli, you are surrounded by 3 flames at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is 5 more points of fire damage. Fire and smoke as your keys are getting kind of hot on top of your own body.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, next up is the worker guy, and he's got his bucket and he raises it and he throws it down at the coal itself. Ooh, that is a natural 20.
Yay, Frogman.
All right.
One that's useful.
The one that is
Don't
actually
want to use good
helping.
for something.
Don't speak too soon. You rolled a 1 on his damage.
God damn it.
He's trying at least.
Right.
Yep.
He's still better than the other one.
It's a good attack, and the coal just kind of takes it, and the damage doesn't seem to do too much. But he slides it across, and it splatters across all the new rubble that's on the deck, and it douses 2 of the flames. Okay, Zarius, over to you.
Alrighty,
for his
so
fill up the bucket again.
I'm gonna go here and pick up the bucket. Alright, so that's 28, 25, 30, 35, 40. Move here. 40. In here. So I'm gonna use my my last key point this time to do Step of the Wind, the bonus action dash. And give me another 45 feet with my bucket. So 15, 20. I'll go here, and then I'll throw the bucket on this one. You're muted, Morgan.
Cool, go ahead and roll your attack.
Huh. That didn't work. That's a 7.
Okay, 7, not good enough. You toss it down. This is the boss coal, and it dodges out of the way as you throw it. The water just goes down the hole that was newly created by the wall, and you just threw water at water.
Okay, so then can I, with my free action, can I bend down? Because I'm on a dock, right? How far away is the dock from the water? Can I fill up my bucket?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like 2
Okay.
feet down.
Alrighty, then I will fill up the bucket.
Okay. Pinky, over to you.
These walls still up?
No, they collapsed
Oh, I didn't know
around
that.
you. Just and it's just like some of them are partially still like up, but for the most part, and you see the tower itself is kind of like leaning towards you, and it's looking pretty precarious.
interesting. That's really, really cool. Get out of this, because oh,
I knew you'd like
there's a
that.
freaking frog.
Yeah,
Monster.
there's just like some frog just like chilling on the pad, just like watching all of this, most nonchalant face.
Till he sees dinner
I
come out.
know.
One of his
Yeah.
eyes. You see it lick its lips and eye and other eye all simultaneously.
No, I don't taste good. And I'll just guess. You know what? Why not? I'll craft this.
Okay, go ahead and roll your attack. Or yeah, roll your attack at just your charisma modifier plus your d20. $12. Nope. Boss Cole lives.
Boss Cole is
Armor class of 14 on this thing. You see a little stream of like pink pixie energy flecked with a few pieces of blue comes out, and it sees it and just rolls right over here
Alright.
into the corner.
I'm just gonna fly 50 feet up.
Okay, sounds good. Eli, you are up.
I have two options, and I don't know which one's the better option. But I'm just gonna turn to the flame that's to the opposite side where that rolled, and I'm gonna splash water on all those flames.
Okay, go ahead and roll your d20.
Is it plus dex?
Plus dex, yeah.
Okay. Well,
12. Okay. Yep, that's good enough to get the two of them.
yeah. I'm gonna spend my free action to get the water, and then I'm hands the. Or if I can, I'm just gonna hold the bucket out for Zarius for his turn.
Okay, sounds good there. Moose, you are up.
I'm gonna spin around, having seen Kevis douse out this guy inside here, and I'm going to point my finger at this little guy, and my pitchfork will go flying from across the room to
Okay.
stab at the.
And actually, it's Kevis when he came down and crushed those barrels, or came down and concussed the room. Those barrels crushed and fell to the side. And it actually comes out. And there's like a wooden plank still attached to the middle of the pitchfork. Okay, 17 will hit it. And go ahead and roll your damage.
Uh, 6.
6 points of damage. Okay. All right, and the damage is halved because of its construct-like nature.
It is a construct.
Okay, and it comes off into it comes down and doesn't quite pierce all the way through because of that wooden plank that was on it from previously. It kind of shears off a portion, and it kind of hops up and falls to the cracked side of the wall and rolls over, and there it begins to shiver, and unlike the other ones, you see this one kind of glow brighter and brighter and brighter. Maybe it's because it's just been attacked a couple of times. It's not functioning quite as properly, but it seems to glow in a heavier light than it did the others, and it begins to quake, and it begins to crack along its surfaces. It explodes, detonating itself.
Can I finish my turn?
Yes, you can if you have more things. So
Yeah, so that
yeah.
was my bonus action. So with my action, I'm gonna take a step forward and I'm gonna grab it.
Okay, roll your attack. My bad, I got a little anxious.
You're all good. Nat 20.
Oh my god.
20. All right, it tries to move and
Yeah.
it like hops up in the air, and you just come over and snatch it as it like is trying to jump over the wall. All right, and you take. There's my dice. Why do I keep putting these dice somewhere else? Okay, you take 1 point of fire damage.
I fly 5 feet up in the air and then out over the water, and I just let go.
All right, and it goes and it begins to, it's doing that thing, and it's cracking along its surfaces. As soon as it hits the water, you hear and some of the pond scum and moss that lives on top of here just burns and curls away, and it goes underneath, and you hear kind of a muted, high-pitched whine, and there's a little explosion above the surface of the water. Kind of like gets you and douses the frog near on the lily pad nearby. It finally seems to take annoyance and like plops back into the water.
It was awesome!
Oh,
All right,
Oh my goodness.
I was,
Well,
before I skipped Moose's turn, I was bringing that whole place down.
Yeah.
That was literally your final half a turn to finish it off.
good job, Moose.
Are we out of combat now, or are we still in combat order? Initially?
No, you are out of combat now, and as that happens, you look around. All of the flames are gone. The building is very crooked, and it seems to have like tilted in such a way that it's actually this staircase here, which is it's leaning heavily on, kind of collapsed under a couple of feet down and like started leaning on it, and that seems to be the only thing that is holding the building up, and that's right where the coal was going to go detonate off of. And the whole thing looks incredibly precarious. Several of you are burned, and you have smoke. All of you have smoke streaks across your face, and you're all panting. Especially that frog is like, "Oh man, they were not that active before you all showed up." And he just like plops on the dock, sticks his feet in the water, and just like lets go with a bucket.
I'm gonna take my full bucket. I'm gonna take my full bucket and walk back into this room where old dude was at, and I'm gonna fucking dump this entire bucket of water on this dude.
Yes.
And, all right, you do so. It's like, hey, I appreciate the moisture, but your gesture is uncalled for.
Uncalled for? We just put out a fire for you and you didn't even try to help? Are you serious? This is your building.
I was managing the situation,
It was 5 seconds away from exploding.
and you, as very competent subordinates, did your job amicably.
whoa.
This dude, since Kevin's here subordinates, he walks right up next to Eli.
The fuck did you just say?
Yep. Yeah.
Roll an intimidation check with advantage.
All of us are just.
Yeah, we're all like coming in like, excuse me.
17.
All right, 17, and suddenly he realizes that, like, he kind of looks at y'all for the first time, and there's this moment of recognition of like, oh shit, I don't know these people. And he kind of backpedals and puts himself against the wall. He says, perhaps I was being hasty. Thank you very much for your service and your efforts. It is greatly appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. How did this happen? What happened? What were these things?
And like all the tense posture in his body just gives way, and instead of like fear and of you and fear of the fire, he is now suddenly remembering something previously. There's this like look of exhausted annoyance on his face. Thief is what happened.
Thief?
Quite. This was their method of distraction. They stole my other balloon! That's where we're gonna take a break. Okay, so we come back in the creaks and aches and little crackles and snaps of like destroyed wood and stone around you continue to create a little bit of a musicality to the space around you. Still smells terribly like smoke. All the good wood smell is gone. Your throats, your eyes, your lungs, and your nose are all burning and stiff with choking smoke inside of your body. Moose, you don't mind so much. Not bugging you nearly as much as everybody else. And this frog in front of you just revealed that somebody stole his food.
Did you see the person who stole it?
No, I don't know I didn't see them steal it, otherwise I would have prevented it. However,
Doubt that.
it just takes him a second and he continues on. However, we know who it was. A vile, evil criminal scum by the name of Sir Wigglewog.
I swear to kill him if we find him for stealing your balloon.
Well, I appreciate that. And roll a deception check. Very low DC.
Did I speak out loud? 14. That's not.
Pretty. It's a very kind gesture of you. Thank you. Yes. We would like to see him returned and punished by our laws. Do forgive me and apologies for being in a worked up state. I am Duke Icrind of the Soggy Court, and I am the master of balloons here. This is what remains of my factory. And you lot you're obviously not from here, so thus foreigners, outsiders. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to now?
For the floor game.
With the floor gang.
It kind of takes a look at you one by one by one.
I was just head down,
You know,
shaking.
in a way, that makes sense.
Thanks.
Why are you here? What are you...
Well, we're
And
here because we saw a building on fire.
He says, yes, and you have my... That... Thank you. That clearly hurt him.
Believe me, Kevin and Eli are just enjoying it.
Ah, King Golub. Ah, yes, he and his mighty reign shall they last forever. Yes, King Golub is the current sovereign of the Sari Court. What? Have you met with him yet?
No?
Ah, then perhaps I can be of assistance. As for rule of reciprocity, you have helped put out my flaming building, although it's not entirely sure. It would have been better to just let it burn down at this point. But regardless, you provided a service. Here, and he takes a little brooch off of his kind of pleated shirt, and he hands it to Eli, who's in the front of the group, who consequently is about as tall as Moose is, while Moose is down the stairs. And he hands you a golden fly brooch, and he kind of puts it in your hand, and the wings on the brooch. So just a little decorative item, but the wings seem to move on them. This will signify you as a friend of the Sari Court.
Aha! I fucking look. Yeah, and I don't think I can put it on my keys. So, oh. Candace! You want a fly brooch?
A flying brooch.
Without saying anything, he just reaches down and grabs it. Wait.
Point of notice, Kevis, with your passive perception. As you go to reach it from Eli, and like you kind of walk up the stairs, you don't have to reach down as far as you expected to get it from his hand. Yep.
Just a weird look on Kevis's face.
Fair. And the Duke Ikrin looks at you and says, "So what are you here to see King Golub about?" And there's like a shift in the building as like a wind blows, and the whole thing just. He looks up. Perhaps we should continue this outside. Come. And he skedaddles and like gets himself out of there. Very clearly, as soon as there is a sign of danger, he books it.
Morgan, is this a custom item or is there an actual item in D&D Beyond? Or the
I haven't looked, but I admit I doubt it.
okay, it's fine.
Yep.
Is it a brooch?
You know, I'm not honestly sure the difference between a brooch and a brooch. Maybe they're the same, maybe they're different. I don't know.
I thought it was brooch.
Thought it was
The brooch.
too. A brooch
Eli.
is just Eli's. It's an Eli thing.
Consulting the book.
This is why we need.
Brooch. Oh, sorry, it's not gold. It's brass, and it's brooch. B-R-O-O-C-H.
Oh.
Interesting.
I'm not as thick as you dumb I am.
It's definitely still pronounced brooch, just spelled weird.
Whenever I've read it in books, I've always pronounced it brooch.
The double O makes an O sound.
So it's like a bro-och.
Oh god.
Like
Broach.
bro. Like brooch.
It's a nice brooch you got there, bro.
How do you normally spell it? Because I always thought that's how it's spelled.
It probably is how it's spelled.
Or choose just not to.
No.
Yeah, I thought the word
Okay.
broach had the letter A in it somewhere. Apparently
No,
not.
broach is BROCH, but it's a completely different thing. It's like a, I just looked it up. It's an Iron Age dry stone hollowed wall structure found in Scotland. And a brooch is is like a pin, and that's how it's spelled, BROOCH.
And who says D&D is not educational?
Learning over here.
Heck yeah. Okay. So you guys are outside with the frog. You guys having a conversation or not really?
So how did this guy walk out with one of your balloons? Your balloons are ginormous. So you're saying some dude came up, grabbed it, and walked away with it?
Well, he had assistance.
So it was like a couple guys.
One guy, one dragon, and one girl.
This dude has a dragon.
A dragon? What kind
Small
of dragon?
one.
Oh!
A fairy dragon. He was being held prisoner by King Gullup, and that was the method of their escape. Wigglewog released him, took my balloon, and rudely absconded with both the prisoner and one of our prized possessions.
How did this fire start?
Started a couple of days ago.
And you just let it burn?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Walgo over there was trying to put out the fire. He's just an incompetent.
So you let your house burn for days and just have one dude trying to put it out while you were supervising.
I mean,
And
hold on a second. Hold on,
Obvious.
I'm not the smartest man, but
A couple
I
of
think
days
you just
ago-
might be stupider than me.
A couple days ago, I'm just getting this straight. I'm sorry. You said that a bullywog of some sort and a dragon and what else took your balloon?
The remaining party member didn't take the balloon. She was the distraction. She's the one that set all the coals off.
And where did she go?
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. I know she has been acquired. Yeah, that is a detail you would need to discuss with the king. I do not know what he's done with her.
Are you able to take us to the king or point us in the correct direction?
If it's still there, go around the factory and across the bridge, and you'll arrive at the court. And no, I shall not accompany you. Wago and I have much work to do to repair the damages here.
This is Woggle over here, right?
Correct. The lumpy one.
When you say we
Ooh,
have
this-
work, do you mean he has work and you're gonna supervise?
That is the job of the supervisor, is to supervise. He wouldn't be able to get anything done if it wasn't for me.
You know, I think I want to be this group's supervisor.
Kevin just looks,
Oh.
no.
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 No. I don't think that's gonna happen, bud.
I don't mind if you want to supervise Eli.
Thank you.
You can
like to-
supervise yourself.
I'd like to go over to this guy since he's away from him, and I just like to tell him like, you might want to find a new boss because he's pretty shitty. He let the building burn, and you were the only one trying to put out the fire. He should have helped. Just saying, you might want to take that into consideration that you might want a different job. It's kind of toxic.
His entire face is like sagging, and like he's got massive bags under his eyes.
Poor guy.
You definitely look like you need some sleep.
Yeah. I'll think about it.
think about it really hard. And then that's it. And then I just go back.
Alright, well, I'm gonna supervise my group to go that way.
Sure. And now, if you don't mind, Wago, break time's over. Let's get back to work. And he just slowly gets up and
What
looks
work do you
completely
have?
defeated.
He needs to repair the house. Okay, so before we leave,
Just
I'm actually going
references
to go up to this
Gestures
guy.
to the entire burning building, or the burned building.
So I'd like to go up to this guy and be like, the king or the duke or whatever, and be like, look, buddy, he tried to save your stupid tower, and he's literally exhausted. So what you're going to do is you're going to give him the rest of the day off so he can sleep. And then you can repair your tower. And maybe in the meantime, you could start picking stuff up yourself.
Roll an intimidation check.
With advantage, Bane would get right up behind him.
Just doing the silent, big friend at the bar thing.
I feel like the
I don't know,
entire
Doc, I
group
just
would
need to
just
flex.
back him up on that.
Yep. Wings out.
All right, yeah, go ahead and roll second time just to see if you crit.
He takes emotional damage.
Emotional damage. What, man?
Sounds accurate.
That's hilarious.
And he looks very frightened. He's obviously not accustomed to people standing up to him. Says, now that you mention it, I am a bit tired. I don't want to, I don't think my, supervisory skills are quite as sharp as they normally are at this moment. So, Wago, go home. Take the
Day.
day off.
There you go. Was that so hard?
Devastating.
We're just bullying the shit out of this guy.
Now, on your way. I'm sure the king has plenty to talk to you about. And he begins to just
He does.
walk away.
As we follow behind him.
Just fucking him.
This is the way we have to go.
Wow, hold on a second.
He's heading back to the way that you guys came.
Right. I think we have to go this way.
Just,
I think it's up this way.
just hear me out for a second. We did just stop the balloon factory from being on fire. That was the reason that these guys didn't want to start making balloons. What if we go back and talk to the guys about making us a balloon?
Yeah, we should get this other helper guy. We'll just ask him why he's still here.
Yeah. Let's go back and ask him.
You look over, and he's sitting there, and he's just
Just sleeping.
yeah, he's already sunk out.
Maybe we'll just let him sleep. He looks really tired.
Right, we can go meet the king, and then we can come back. They're both going to be off for the day, and I'm assuming it's just the two of them since nobody else is here or helped.
They have other workers on the where we came in at. They were the one that told us about the factory being on fire.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm saying that the whole reason that they didn't want to make a balloon is because their factory was on fire. We've solved that. Let's see if they'll
This
make
is why
us a
he's the
balloon.
supervisor, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's technically like we have an IOU. Or you
Right.
owe us.
Make me a fucking balloon. I saved your factory. I mean, you know.
Okay.
Seems pretty solid line of reasoning to me.
Yeah.
So, do we want to
So
go
we
back
go
there
back-
and tell him?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I want to go collect my
Alright.
balloon.
Just don't fall in the
Okay.
water.
Yep, you guys come along and reach this similar the path that you took last time. For those of you that are not playing, give me an athletics check.
Nope,
to
I'm not.
jump
Moose,
across.
Moose, I ain't doing it. I need a ride. Nope.
All right, you're first.
You said athletics, right?
Yep. All right.
That is why I'm not doing it.
Yeah, this is just pure physical strength to see how far you can jump across. Actually, sorry. Never mind. You have the distance to jump, but make an acrobatics check to make sure that your footing is solid as you jump.
Okay. Acrobatics check.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, Eli and Zarius, you're both fine. You guys all
carry-
make it across.
Carry Kevin's cross.
Sounds good.
I'm touching those rocks.
And you come back and the frogs are still there. One of them looks over at Kevis, kind of like backs up a little bit, like shrinks in on itself. And another one kind of plops up on the ground right up next to you guys. You see kind of like a just a toothless mouth open. And you see the Duke over here talking to his other two workers in a frantic manner. And you get those repairs done on the double. We'll not sleep until this balloon is functional.
Kevis walks up, just what's he do when he sees us?
Yeah, I thought you were going to see the king.
We have a detour.
Yeah, about that, we don't know. I don't know which way to go.
I told you.
This way. Go that way. But I want to go this way first.
Oh, also, how tired does this other frog worker look?
They look pretty beats. Like they look pretty well exhausted as well. Not nearly as bad as Wago. But it's just with who this guy is. Like, this guy is a freaking slave driver.
You know, I think you should give all of your workers a day off.
Do you have any idea how much that would cost us in revenue?
They might be more productive the next day. You know.
You also currently don't have your tower.
My dear pink thing.
Pinky.
I did not make my fortune off of mights and maybe. They are here to perform a service, and they shall do so.
Speaking of services,
Go.
who was the frog that said that they could possibly make me a balloon?
I think it was that one.
It was this one?
And he looked, the Duke looks over at the two workers. Just, since when are we giving this out for free?
No, we're not giving it out for free. No, that's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for a small balloon. A tiny one. One that, I could carry with a string. It would just float right here. It doesn't have to go high, doesn't carry things. Just a tiny little balloon, that's all I want.
That would provide no transportational or logistical services.
I don't care about transportation.
It brings a great amount of joy.
I just want a tiny balloon. Just to have. Not to carry anything, just to have it.
Strange. Like,
That's what I
he's clearly processing, and he's having a hard time understanding, like, just in general. What good does joy bring you?
What do you care?
There's a
my
disgusted
joy.
look on his face.
Look, In
Joy,
general, you know,
how
You see,
pedestrian.
you see this
Yo!
big man right here? You see this big man? This pointed moose. Like, you see him?
The
The
moose
balloon
is
makes
like
him...
Moose is a lot like closer than he thinks he is. It's like hi.
It makes him happy. Alright? It makes him not mad. Alright? We want to keep him not mad, right? He sets the world on fire.
I think I've had enough fire for
Yes.
ever.
Tiny balloons make him happy, which makes him not set world on fire.
Roll a persuasion or intimidation check.
I
Whichever
really,
your preference
I
is.
really wanted to quote Avengers. You won't like him when he's angry.
Yes.
ooh.
19
Oh.
was like, all right. Big guy, fire, mad, bad, got it. Yeah, we can. I guess small balloon is an additional token of appreciation.
You might be able to sell them too. You can make more and sell them.
It
Could we
looks
get
at you
like
and says,
several balloons
who would
for
buy
all of
that?
us?
Well, if we're interested
no,
in it,
that's
I'm
just
sure we're not the
ridiculous.
only ones. Okay.
We've
well,
been
I mean,
around the
maybe-
Feywild, and people really seem to like the balloon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
We
do.
trade-
Balloons
we-
are special here.
We traded a small balloon for a big raft, okay? Like a little itty bitty balloon for an entire raft that we could all sit on.
The
That's the
value
value that's
is
the
out
value.
of this world.
Seriously.
I'm not sure if it was Xerius or Moose, but whoever said you could sell them, roll a persuasion check with advantage.
I think that was me.
Yeah.
17.
Duke's
Or-
natural voice and then Troy's Moose voice are a little bit similar. Okay, and kind of stops and thinks about it for a second. We could leverage the money of the adults who have children.
Yep.
He begins to understand, but it's in an obviously like warped way. It's like, all right, you will receive the prototypes of our experimentation.
Yes,
That's awesome.
Quality cannot be guaranteed.
we'll be your quality control.
That's all we're asking for.
All right, sure.
Fantastic.
The guy looks at you all. What, you want them now?
Nope, we're fucking off. Bye.
Okay. Alright. Okay, so you guys fuck off. What's the king?
Are we going back the way we came?
Yeah, no, we gotta.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I just had to come over here and make sure that the balloon thing was secured before we.
You didn't
Because.
You didn't see it if you were out on the deck. There's a bridge out there, and that's
Yeah.
where we go.
Yeah.
Let's go, Kevis.
Yep. Yep, exactly. No word said, just.
Assumes the position.
Oh my god, it's the... Oh,
Ooh, Eli. This time, not so graceful. You're feeling all like high and mighty, be like, yeah, I'm gonna get a balloon. And you like think there's one more rock than there actually is. Yeah. Straight into the water. And roll a D100 for me.
Oh, fucking A, yeah. 50. Or 5,
that's
sorry,
a
5.
5.
That's a 5, my bad, 5.
You guys see Eli splash into the water, and you look back,
Yep.
as two fins begin encroaching towards him.
Back here.
And sorry guys, I need a moment with all my movements on things. I lost the tokens for these guys. And I didn't expect you guys to come back this way. So I didn't prepare them.
Kevis
I did.
seeing that would just be like, Moose!
Okay. So in a moment, I will need everybody to roll initiative because they are very territorial and they don't know who splashed in.
For once, this entire campaign, it's not Kevis.
Yeah, right.
Do I see these fins coming at me? Just out of curiosity.
Roll a perception
Before
check.
we. Okay.
The water is not necessarily clear. Nah, you've got like some like pond scum like stuck to your face.
Fair
Hard
enough.
to see through.
Oh my gosh.
You have pond scum stuck to your face. Fair enough. That's how that exchange usually goes, right?
Initiative.
All right. Here we go. Okay, so so Eli starts off in the water, and go ahead and roll your initiative. Everybody's in the order now. And Zarius, I got you at your 10.
Alrighty, thank you.
I mean, I would if it would stop wigging out on me. No. Sorry, Wago is not a part of this combat.
Yeah.
As a
Well,
fighter,
Woggle needs his rest, yo.
Yes, he
stops
does.
the Wago.
Oh
Poor little
gosh.
fella.
Can we talk to them? Kevin, can't you do something?
We can't!
Um,
Moose can.
Bane is the
Oh.
one that talks commercial tongue to these things.
All right. All right. Starting us off, Eli, you're in the water and you don't know what's happening.
Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna swim over to the closest, the big rock right next to me, and try to climb up on that bitch.
Okay. Yeah, easy enough to do. Just climbing up. You're like, ugh. Okay.
As I'm getting up, wiping smudge off my face.
Yeah, you look over and you see like a couple of like fishy bodies rising out of the water. One of them with a harpoon ready to throw it.
Yeah. 1 second.
Yep. That'll be your turn though. To
I can't do
essentially
anything
like
else.
to get off prone, to climb up, and then take enough time to like look around and notice what's happening.
I don't even have a bonus action after that.
Probably not, because
Okay,
you
that's
are
fine.
essentially It's essentially like a
cool with that.
reverse surprise round for you.
That makes sense. I'm fine with that.
Okay, cool. Pinky, your go.
I'm-
5. Okay. It might as well be like heckles to the nosels. I'm gonna try this.
Heckles to the nozzles. What is it?
Just gonna yell good old please stop.
Please.
Connecting.
You're a soul knife. Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And Pinky's subclass is revealed. I didn't even know this.
Hell yeah.
She
Okay,
just
what is
like
this?
says like it is pretty much me connecting my mind to theirs. They understand me perfectly well. We don't need to speak a common language to understand each other, pretty much.
Okay.
And she can do it to both the creatures because
Yep.
it's her proficiency bonus.
Yeah, I can do it to both of them.
Okay.
And then
So
she
you
rolls.
establish a telepathic communication link between you and others based on the number of die that you have.
Yeah, so she can roll a d6 and
Mhm.
it lasts
Yes.
for that many hours.
Okay. So you are, and is there a save or anything on that?
Nope. It
Nope.
they just have
It
to
just
take
happens.
it.
Okay,
They
cool.
can't- She
I will
very
admit-
unintentionally has connected her mind to these two and is like, stop both in their heads and like vocally.
All right. You occasionally get little messages from Eli inside of your own head, and you know that you don't speak the same language as these things. So you're like, hell, might as well try it. And you just like shout out, and
Stop!
in this moment of stress, there is this connection, and like, it's like studying for, or it's like being in a test. And like there's a difficult problem that you're just working through, like, oh gosh, like can't quite get it. And then there's this moment where it just clicks. And it makes sense, and you're like, oh my god. And you like line it up and you send it out, and you you can feel their alien, aquatic, bestial mind kind of rub up against yours.
Ugh.
And you realize you have successfully established a connection with these things.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
that's not what I wanted.
We are not your enemies. We just want to get by.
Roll a persuasion check.
Also, Pinky, I don't know. I don't know if you ever played Soul Knife before, but you don't use the first time you use this ability. Don't use one of your resources for it.
Okay.
Right.
Every day you don't. The first time you use it, you don't
First
use
time.
an energy die. Yep.
Wow.
Okay. Sorry, just a sec.
I'm so excited. This is my favorite rogue subclass.
You-
By far.
yes!
It's so fun. It's so
You did
fun.
it.
It's so fun, dude.
Why can I not? Okay, there we go. Found what I was looking for. Thank you. Sorry. Wow. Okay. So, Pinky, you rolled a 19. So did I. To counter your persuasion. But they don't have any wisdom bonus.
I have a +2 to my wisdom.
Yeah, you do. Plus your proficiency. Okay, so they come up and they feel this injected mind connection. You see them both thrash around and like trying to identify like where the sound is coming from. And after a moment, they look over at you directly, and you communicate, "We're not your enemy. We just want to pass." And it's not so much that you've persuaded them that like, yeah, you're friends, because these guys are clearly hunters and predators.
Yeah.
They don't care about friendship. But the strangeness of this all has weirded them out, and they suddenly look at you like they just both like begin backing up. They
They're
don't
like, "What the
want to mess with you. And they turn around, dive back into the water, and they're gone.
We're not fighting these, Morgan.
We're like, thanks, no thanks.
Apparently not, guys. I didn't even have them prepared. You guys were like begging for it, and then you stopped it again.
Pinky, seriously, roll a d6 and see how long you can fuck with these guys.
Alright.
There's no distance. You just have a psychic communication, so you could just randomly fuck with these guys.
I am your new god.
That's hours? So 4 hours?
4
Yeah.
hours.
Oh my god. The one person to have that this is perfect.
Okay.
Shit.
Look, she can now legally wander off from you guys and be sneaky and stealthy.
Legally.
Legally.
Before I felt like it was a very upsetting illegal thing where it was like the child has wandered off from the group and nobody knows how to get
You
into
just
contact.
described any of you wandering off.
Was he like, you want to remember the very first ones when I wandered off from everyone and you followed me at the carnival?
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. There's a 1 mile range on it.
It is a 1 mile range.
Okay.
It's a 1 mile range, but
You got a mile to fuck with them.
a mile to fuck with them. Yeah.
A mile is pretty far.
Yeah.
Usually when we use it, we're all in a castle, and like people are on different levels of the castle and shit, you know. So it's like never been a problem.
I am their new god.
All right. So Pinky reveals her subclass
That's awesome.
to herself
Awesome.
accidentally.
But only one part of it, and I don't think she knows that she can make blades yet.
And we don't have any idea why they left. They just saw us and left, right?
fucked
Yeah,
off,
they
They
just
got
looked at
scared.
they looked at Pinky. Some of the water around them turned a different color, and then they ran away.
You saw that, guys? I got up on the rock. They realized who they were fucking with, and they ran off. You saw that? Yeah.
Yep, we saw that.
Yeah.
I saw you definitely faceplant into the water, though, so we're
I face
not
went in the
gonna
water,
do
got
that
back.
again.
As soon as I got up, they fucked off. I don't know. You tell me.
Maybe next time
That's what I
we'll
saw.
just carry you all over?
We can get over the rocks just fine. Kempis is the one that's scared of everything.
Not the one that ended up in the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the first time in your life.
I've washed off a little bit, and I'm still getting like muck off of my face. I mean, yeah.
Wait, so we
There's a little
noticed?
piece of pond scum like a mustache.
Did we notice them stare at Pinky? Like, would
Yeah.
would Kevis have like pointed that like for some reason they're looking directly at Pinky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, is he pointing that out to everyone?
No, that's out of game.
Okay.
No, but Kevis is going to stare at you very confused.
I'm just as confused, kind of. I'm just kind of in like awe of like what just happened a little bit. I'm like, I just did that.
So, and like not breaking eye contact with Pinky. To the king?
For the king!
To the king!
To the king!
To the king.
All right.
Woo! We got.
All right. You guys are able to go around the building and you see, as you do, you see a bridge, and the bridge connects from the kind of peninsula that the factory was on, and on the other end you see a white marble gazebo, seemingly crooked and slanted, as some of the support pillars seem to be deeper into the muck than the other side. And thus it has created this kind of like shifted slanty...
Tower 3.0.
Yeah, slanty tower, slanty tower 3.
Flint Tower 3.0, yes.
You know, it's just like Sharknado. I'm just putting out sequels like crazy now. All right, and along the way you hear like as you get onto the bridge, the mist kind of clears a little bit as you walk through it. As you get deeper in, you still can't see very far at all for the most part. Ooh, actually, sorry, I've got something wrong here.
Yeah.
Even Moose and Kevis with their innate dark vision, I was giving you guys way too much length there. You can only see 20 feet in front of you, but it's not because of dark vision. It's just because of the fog.
That's. I was gonna say, if there's fog, Kevis would also just be kind of looking around, looking at it, not for anything, but just
Are these talking
curious.
heads?
Yeah, and as you go by, you see a row of about a dozen froggy heads on pikes with varying degrees of decay and damage and different types of damage to them. Some of them look like they've got cuts on their faces. Some of them look just old and wrinkled. Some of them look like there's little purple veins like running through. One of them, the one on the far end, looks like it's got blisters on its face. And they're all chattering, and they can move just like a little bit. And like, oh my god, you wouldn't believe. And like there's, they're just talking incessantly. Like they are just sitting there gossiping to one another over and over and over. And it's like this whole like rippling din
I just heard you say
of
something.
chatter. And kind of towards the last one with the boils on him, sitting on the edge, kicking his
So I
feet
wasn't
off
sure
the
if you said
side,
something.
you see a little scarecrow?
Looks
I don't know, it's a weird looking scarecrow. It's got a little satchel to its side, big boots, which are too large for its sticky little legs, a kind of a yellow tunic on it with a little stuffing of straw like sporting out here and there. Got two large blue metal lobster claws that are just like sitting on its lap, and just like clicking occasionally. And it's kind of leaned back, and it's got a gourd for a head. And it's sitting up there, and it's talking to this last head in the row. It's just kicking its feet.
oh, that's wow.
That's one hell of a dog.
A lag behind
Is this
the roof.
Clapper Claw?
And do you say that out loud?
Yes.
And you see his head turn. His body doesn't move at all, but the gourd. And as it does, you hear a little, like a little rattle inside. Ching, 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 ching. It looks up at you and says, "Oh, hello. How do you know my name?"
We were told you were an excellent guide.
Yeah, well, that's true. Even if I don't leave this place, I'm an excellent guide. Who told you? And the strange thing is, he doesn't have a mouth. The voice just seems to emanate out from him somehow.
A stranger we met along the way.
I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. But if you talked to them and now you're talking to me, then that might mean that I guess we're also strangers. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And he turns his head and just kind of rattles inside. Goes back to his conversation with the head.
But
No,
we
if
don't-
they knew you and I was talking to them, then that stranger became my friend. And if they already knew you, then they were your friends, so now we're friends.
we're friends by association.
He looks at Pinky, doesn't get it. Looks at Bane. Bane, roll a persuasion check.
No, I don't think so.
A 9. A 9 will do it.
Ooh.
The simplicity of the logic. He kind of tilts his head and... Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I need your names, otherwise we can't be true friends. You know me, I'm Clapperclaw. Hi. Who are you?
People call us the Floor Gang.
Why?
We're on the floor a lot.
Says we eat things off the floor.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you do that too? I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense. Is it like a club? Can I be a part of the floor gang? Can I eat stuff off the... I can't eat.
I think honorary member for now.
Yeah.
Sure, that makes sense. Honorary. That sounds pretty cool.
Um,
Anyways, and he turns back to to talking to the head. And he's asking the head something about, where would you put a head if you were missing it? And to which the frog kind of gravel-like voice responds, "You're joking, right?"
Mr. Clabberclaws?
Mister. Ew.
Mrs. Clabberclaws?
Do I look like an adult to you?
Clapperclaw?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, nothing. I was just figuring out what you wanted to be called.
You got it.
Miss Clabberclaw?
Boo.
Can you guide us to the soggy court? We're looking for the king.
Big claw just kind of flops lazily on the bridge. Yeah, go that way. They're always there. Just follow the music. You hear that? He puts his claw up to his gourd on the other side.
You are a really good guide.
Yeah, see? I told you. Even when I'm here.
Are you always here?
Sometimes. Sometimes I am always here, yeah.
Yeah. Is it nice here?
No.
No.
Good luck with your head.
Who said anything about a head?
Question: do I see Eli still way back behind us?
Probably. If you're looking for him.
Okay. So, what I'm doing back here, I'm on my knees and praying and casting Channel Divinity.
Okay.
And I don't have it on here. I can click that. I think. I don't know. It Harness Divine Power allows me to regain a spell slot by expending Channel Divinity, and that's what. I'm
okay.
doing.
Okay. Yeah. Is that a level 2 thing for your class?
Yes. Yeah. It's level 2 thing.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. You're able to do that. So go ahead and just mark off a tick on Channel Divinity and get a spell slot back.
Yep. And that's it. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
I don't think Kevis would move till he sees Eli start coming up. So anything, just looks back at him.
As soon as I finish that, my little ceremony, I'll get up, stretch, and act like nothing's going on, and walk back up the plank to you guys.
All right. Sounds
Also-
good. As you guys begin to... Oh, go ahead.
Morgan, how long has it been since I gave Speedy Hill here Longstrider?
It lasts for an hour. About 25, 30 minutes so far.
Trying to race?
No, I'm just kidding. I would still beat
Yeah,
you
you
with
want to race
Longstrider.
across the bridge real quick? See which one you might fall in?
As you guys are talking about this, one of the heads turns towards you and says, "Yes, by all means, go talk to the current ruler. Yeah, not like they have anything to offer anyone." Ugh.
Wait, these heads talk? Back?
Oh, they've been chattering between each other. They were talking to Clapperclaw. Yeah. Like, oh, you're rather pink. Gross.
I know.
Green is more in this year, don't you know? Ugh.
Kevis looks at his
Vegans.
tunic. That's green.
You have... What is your opinion of King Blub?
Well, it's a twat, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. I That sounds about
Oh,
right.
Why?
What makes him that?
Oh, you know, the normal. And the one next to him is like, yeah, the normal. That applies to you too, pal.
Is
Yeah, just an incompetent jerk. All he
Is-
cares about is himself.
is he the one who stuck your guys' heads up here?
And almost simultaneously, they all look to the left of them. Each and every one of them looks to the left and stares at the head next to them. And the one on the end with the boils looks at the gazebo. And they're all glaring at the head next to them.
What were you guys before you were just heads?
And it's like the answer is an explosion of them all trying to talk over one another. Roll an insight check to see if you could like make out what any of them are saying.
Can I see if I can make out what they're saying?
Yeah, you can roll an insight check too.
I was gonna say, Kevis could just yell at
Just
him to
because-
shut up. One talk, one at a
Yeah,
time.
obviously, yes. Yes. I will try.
I'm gonna wait and see how this turns out first.
I don't think I got very good.
13. It takes a minute for you to like they're like all kind of talking and like kind of like throws your head back a little bit because it's like wait what who what is happening and Zarius, you begin to pick out a few things. You hear lots of terms of royalty mixed in there, like you weren't a good king. I was a good king until that asshole over there, he took my head off.
And which one
Darius?
said that?
Just you're not even entirely sure, but they all seem to be arguing in attack to the left and arguing defensively to the right.
I hit the group and be like, so I think they're saying that they all used to be royalty, and the person next to him they really dislike. Except for the guy
Okay.
on the end. He was looking towards the where the king is at. And yeah, so apparently they're all like old royalty and they just are just heads now.
So in theory, we could just cut off the current king's head and put him there, and we could be royalty next?
And they all kind of like stop and look at you in like this disgusted manner and be like, ew, you are not a bullywug, you're not a member of the Soggy Court, you could never be royalty. Like, there'd be a better royalty than you were, jackhole.
This is great. This is my home.
This is your...
Yeah, and they just erupt in arguments again.
I guess we should go see the current king.
I want to
We
stick
probably
around here and
should.
listen to him for a while, actually. Yes.
Kevis is
Uh,
gone.
Mike, Eli, go ahead and roll an insight check.
Yay. What else do these fuckers have
Ooh,
to say?
nice.
21. Okay, you're sitting here. You're enjoying like the art of argument is something you have practiced for years. It is you
Yeah.
feel a special connection to it, and so you're able to decipher quite a bit of what's being said. And after a while, you decipher that okay, so from their direction, the one to the left is the usurper who killed them and took their throne. And then if there is one to the right, they're the usurper that did that to the last guy. So, and they all look forward, and you gather by that chain of events, the guy with the boils on him, just glaring daggers occasionally at the gazebo. Oh, that guy was the last king. And you also hear general consensus that King Gullop is a weak, pathetic loser of a leader.
What if you
None,
both suck
none
as
of them
leaders?
like him.
Like, you guys are now like heads on a pike. What if you just sucked as a leader? I mean, you let yourself become, dismembered.
Well, that's certainly rude. It wasn't my fault. And it's like, oh, yes, it was, you fat glutton. All you were doing was eating flies every day and letting the rest of the people starve.
Poor
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah, and they erupt. None of them taking responsibility or accountability or nothing.
No, Eli's fucking loving this. No, this is great.
Yep.
Oh shit.
Cool. And Clapperclaw's like trying to like just learn some things, and he like goes from head to head and like asking his question. And all of them give him some version of like some surly retort. Nobody cares about your stupid head, kid. I got enough stupid heads to talk to every day.
Tell him.
And then eventually Clapperclaw just kind of like, he gets to the end, he kind of like throws his claws down. They drag on the dock behind him a little bit, and he just begins to like walk away. Every step he takes, there's a little.
What question was he asking the heads?
Where would you put a head if you had lost one?
Oh, gotcha. I forgot about that.
I'll look at the one to the right of the one that said, that's like Clapperclaw, and be like, well, how does it feel being called a stupid head?
I'll admit it has a certain irony to it that I don't care for.
I'm gonna keep poking and prodding at these fuckers if you don't come get me, by the way.
Yeah, at this point,
Okay,
Kevis
so-
would literally come back. As much as you're enjoying this, we need to go talk to the king. Like, let's go. So he gets behind Eli and just starts to motion him forward.
This is really fun. You should try.
He just looks at the head, gives him a dirty look. Let's go.
Onward to the soggy court.
Alright, you guys arrive at the Soggy Court. And you enter in, and the gazebo is tilted. It is actually very fine in design, or at least it was some long time ago. Now there is no upkeep on this. It's covered in grime and swampy moss and things, and some of it hangs down like a sheet. There's a bard playing in the middle of the court, creating the tunes that you hear. And there is a group of about 7 or 8 frogs in the center with all various decorations and filigree to them. And most of them are there's a couple of them are staring out over at the factory and just kind of like making like peanut gallery comments about it. Like, oh, hey, look at that. Oh, no, I certainly thought it was fall. Okay, pay up. And like, oh, fine, you win this round. And the rest of them are chatting. A couple of them are turning to a bit of a larger frog. He's very voluptuous, just like very round in his entirety, and he's got like this little stack with some lily blossoms kind of funneling out of it, but it doesn't fit his head very well. He has to readjust it constantly. There's some that are just talking amongst each other, some are just zoning off. There's a few armed frogs sitting around, leaning up against the towers, and they're all kind of lazy, or several of them are snoozing. And as you walk up, there's a very the frog with the crown of lilies has a leather-bound book on his lap, and he doesn't even look up to you. He says, "Have thou no herald to introduce yourself to King Gullop the 13th?" And he shuts his book, and everybody kind of like jerks around, and the guards like shake awake and like pretend like they've been standing there the whole time. And
Is he talking
and then
to us?
He's yeah. He's talking to the lot of you, and he looks up directly at you, beady eyes, and kind of the glance you get. He's very puffy. Extremely exaggerated clothing surrounds him. There's a small little pet crocodile with a kind of a frilly neck thing sitting next to him, curled up in like a little cat next to him as well.
Oh.
I want to slap Kevis on the ass, and then in his voice, I want him to hear, "Show him the brooch."
Yeah, the brooch.
The brooch!
Kevin's just
Brooch.
elbows Eli and steps forward to the guy.
My head.
All the frogs are turned, and their attention is on you now.
Oh. I remember. I
Well,
don't.
speak up. Do you or do you not have any courtly manners in a herald?
Yes, we would like to speak to your king, and I'm going to hold the brooch up.
I am the king.
Oh. So I'm going brain dead out of game. It's been so long. What was it? I forgot what we were going to talk to him about.
We were
Why are we
trying to get the downfall, right?
We're in down.
We're in downfall.
We're in downfall. So outside of the game, we're here to talk to him to figure out if he can tell us how to get to Bavlorna's place.
Yeah. Okay.
And hopefully, if he knows something about
Dancing counterclockwise.
the counterclockwise thing.
Oh, yeah. What was that? Whitson?
Wittershins.
Wittershins?
Widdershins. If he knows.
I'll make sure that I got that right.
I think that's
You
right.
did.
That sounds right.
So
Yeah,
Kevis
I
walks
do.
up. Yeah. As you can tell, we're not from here. Kind of motion to the unique group in front of him. We're actually looking to meet with Bavlorna. Do you have any information for us on how to meet with her?
Bavlorna does not consult with anyone who is not a member of the Soggy Court.
What about being friends with the Soggy Court and again holding up the brooch?
Oh, well, that makes your introduction to me a little more lubricated. But alas, you are not a member of the Soggy Court. I assume that looks like, the Duke's brooch. Are you the one that helped him put out the fire?
Helped him.
I was gonna say-
The fire.
We handled it while he stood there very useless. You should probably talk with him about how he handles the situations.
I surely shall. I'm sure his people were being very incompetent in spite of his good leadership. I shall have him reprimand his underlings thoroughly.
Kevin's just like, you could tell Kevin's is biting his tongue.
Pinky's like looking back at everyone else, like,
Your
y'all hearing
Highness.
what I'm hearing?
And
Your Highness.
I am still waiting for your introduction.
Yeah.
Highness,
the
this is
floor
the
gang.
floor gang.
Kevin's is just like,
And Moose, I assume
Isn't
you
Moose
kinda
like
take
rich?
Yeah, you kind of take upon airs. You know how this dance goes a little bit.
Yes, Your Highness, this is the floor gang, and we are gracious that you would welcome us to your court, even despite only having this small brooch.
Someone with manners, excellent. Now, and you individuals are collectively the floor gang, I understand. It is good to have a collective title. But who are you? I wish to know who I speak to on a person-to-person basis.
My name is Bane Myadrin, Lord of Castle Ravensmire.
Ah, the upbringing.
Certainly
suits
you've heard of me.
I have. You come from a great family.
Insight check that?
Roll an insight check.
And you know, I just want to try this. Nah, okay, yeah, no, I'll take that. Or 13.
Okay. Lying out his ass. He has no idea. He's just trying to look like he doesn't not know somebody who's important. That Pinky's the only one that knows that at the moment. Like,
Okay.
Master Ravensmire, how about the rest of you?
They are with me.
I'm Eli, the master of light and shadow, and I'll fucking conjure up light and dark energy out of my hands.
Oh, most impressive. He's not mocking. It's legitimate clapping, and like everybody else like starts clapping like it's really important. He turns his eyes towards the elf.
Kevin's just biting his tongue the whole time. Kevis. Really? Just say I'm really good friends with Oberon. He shuts up after that.
His froggy eyes go very wide. Oberon! Excellent. You and I shall be fast friends, I'm sure. And,
Oh, I can imagine.
yes, you and I shall have much to talk about. Kevis of Oberon's courts. Yes. You see an absolute, undeniable greed in his eyes.
Indus, you didn't tell me you were part of a court.
Technically, I'm not.
And how about you, yellow one? I like yellow. And he like touches his crown of yellow petals.
I'm Zarias the Swooping, and I give a little hop and a little bow.
Your wings don't be doing too much swooping these days, do they?
Don't talk about my wings.
Hang on that.
Sensitive subjects. Understood. And lastly, you snack drop. You are a member of our... You are a guest in our courts, and as the rule of hospitality goes, none of me or mine shall eat you up like the delicious morsel you are.
She's Pinky the Tasty. No.
And the way that this guy speaks, it's almost like he's using fancy words, but they're screwed up. Like
Yeah.
he's forcing himself to sound fancy.
I am Pinky Pinkthorn, associate of the Summer Court.
Ah, Tatiana's and Oberon's people in my court at the same time. Ah, what a wonderful gift.
Really?
This should be very exciting. Now, what is it that you want with Pavlorna?
He is a bad person. She stole our things. Not just our things, other people's things. And we want our things and other people's things returned.
I assure you she has stolen nothing.
Beg to differ.
Whatever she has in her possession, she came to buy legitimate ownership.
Is that what you think?
It is what I know for a fact.
Insight check.
Just because she finds something doesn't mean it's hers.
Go ahead and roll your insight check.
Ooh, look at that.
Okay. There's something really off about this guy. Like, he's absolutely putting on airs and, like, trying to be more impressive than he actually is. That part's easy to spot. The rest of what he's saying is... it doesn't match what you believe, but it seems like it's like he believes in what he's saying, even if it doesn't make sense as to why that would be the case. And he looks over at Eli after your comment. You have an incomplete understanding of leadership and royalty. Those in power can lay claim to whatever they desire.
Doesn't this violate the laws of the Fae? The law of ownership.
Depends on who you are. I cannot take things from whomever I want, but Bavlorna, she owns everything in hither.
So she owns you.
Quite, we are her servants. And I am her right hand from man. And as such, it is my responsibility to oversee everyone else in her dominion.
Oh, her servant.
Trusted associate.
Servant, got it.
I just
And he-
whisper
So-
over to Kevin.
He
"Pretty much a
narrows his
glorified-
eyes at you.
He's a glorified footstool.
Pretty much. And I'm just like deadlocked eyed on him. Not saying anything.
So
Very
you
much
said
you
distinction
can't-
between us two.
He's looking at Kevis. Being from Oberon's court, you should have a better understanding.
Understanding of being a servant? No, not really. Not how things are in there. If something's ours, it's ours. We don't take other people's stuff. We don't treat other people like servants.
Careful boy.
So Bavlorna operates outside of the rules of the Fae. Seems fair.
It's kind of like those in power make the rule.
Ah, finally, someone understands.
Well, I'm from the Fae. I would hope I'd have some understanding.
Better than your cohorts, I would say.
So you said that we couldn't meet Bavlorna without being a member of the Gloopy Court? Is that what he said?
Soggy Court.
Doggy.
Gloopy, that's funny too.
So how do you become a member of the Soggy Court?
With my permission.
Well, how would we go about getting your permission? Like, we really need to meet with her.
Well, as it so happens, I recently came into possession of this book here. It is known to be an item of Bavlorna's collection. And I can assure you I did not steal it. I acquired it through legitimate business means.
I'd like to give him an insight check on that.
Go ahead and roll insight.
A book.
And as he's saying that, he's like, I did not steal it! And he's like telling everybody in the room. Okay. I should just keep this guy's page open because you guys are insight checking him so much.
I see the book.
It is a thick, leather-bound book with a black spine and like 2 black supporting lines that run across the side of it, with some arcane, twisted scrawling on it. It says, and so insight check. You can't read this guy. You don't know what's just like farce and like he's putting on a performance and what's actually real. It's like this, you kind of look at him and start to try to figure this out, and it's like this guy doesn't have an alternative version of himself. His actual, like the actual version of him is completely fake. So you're not sure what's real and what's not.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Make a note, fake ass king.
The book you have, what's it about?
That is not of your concern. I was merely making sure it didn't fall into the wrong hands, and I was keeping it safe. If you would be so kind as to return it to Bavlorna in her cottage, and he points out across the gazebo and towards the center of the lake. And none of you have really paid attention so much to it yet, but there is a kind of a large, towering hut-like structure, as he points it out, and you guys can kind of see it's kind of rocking a little bit back and forth. You don't see any details of the hut. You just see the outline, basically, of a shape across the way. If you would return it to her, I would grant you the title of honorary Soggy Court member to do the task, and then you would be able to talk to her. Just in the return of it, make sure you impress upon her the importance of I was keeping it for her.
Importance?
That is what I said.
We'll do that.
And so
Well, that sounds like a fair deal.
come, you look a little bit weathered. Join in the court under the great gazebo, and take a moment and rest and refresh yourself. And he snaps his fingers, and one of the guards hustles over to a table and like begins to pour some wine and prepare a tray of food and stuff. And they begin to pass it around to you. A couple of servants kind of weaving in between you. So he's offering his hospitality in food and wine and drink.
The bard, is he playing a lute?
He is playing a lute.
Can I just, while I'm
Oh, no.
sitting here resting and chilling, can I just use Mage Hand to like pluck random strings as he's playing?
Roll a sleight of hand check. $15? Okay. Let me throw that against his perception check. And as you do, dun, dun, doing, ding! What? Dun, 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 ding, ding! Stop it! You're ruining my melody!
Wait, do you have an invisible mage hand?
I have Mage Hand.
He's fucked with you with it.
Yeah, I fucked with you with it.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So you guys
Hands is
are.
invisible.
But
You
it's
guys
not
are-
invisible.
It's not invisible, but I mean, if I can just
Oh.
sneak it in there.
Mage
Right.
Hand, I think, is invisible, but like he spotted you, like your concentration.
Oh.
like,
I thought it was
I thought it was Arcane
certain-
Trickster is the only one that had the
Arcane Trickster
invisible
could
one.
we get it invisible.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
It's just a spectral floating hand.
It's a spectrum.
okay, yeah, he notices it.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm. And he kind of shoos the hand away as it's strumming his strings. Not for you.
Not for you.
All right, and the guards like bring in more seats and allow you guys to sit. And do you start partaking of the food and whatnot?
What is the food?
Yeah,
Well, look
Zaris
at-
is up.
Yeah, what
Zaris
is
is always hungry.
Mhm.
I'm like looking at Kev. It's like, are we gonna eat this food?
I'll tell him it's
Does
like,
it
so
look
he feeds
edible?
us.
Does it
That's-
look normal?
There's some of it does look normal. Like there's like fruits and meats and cheeses and stuff. And Zarius, you see somebody like carrying around like a tray of bugs.
Oh yeah, I want those.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and
past hors d'oeuvres.
they pass some line to you, and somebody roll a d6 for me, please. Ignore a 6.
Ignore 6.
Mm-hmm.
6.
The other version. Or
The
roll
other
a
version of
1d5.
A 6.
What the hell, Biggie?
I'm sorry. I'm just
One more
very-
time.
One more time.
I'm just making her burn all these so she doesn't sneak attack me to death next time.
A 1.
Just the one.
Real, of course, it's a
Okay.
one.
Pete, as you guys are sitting down and eating and just like beginning to rest and listening to the beginning of court talks, there seems to be some concern about the balloon theft in the factory and how long it's going to take that to get it back up. And Avalorn is not going to be too happy about it. But there's also conversation surrounding the prisoner. And Pinky, as you're sitting there and you start to like sip a goblet of wine, something gets caught in your mouth. Like surprising, like you kind of spit it out and like you grab it. It's a little piece of paper.
Unfold it? Can I like really subtly do this? Like,
I would say, does Kevis see?
Roll a stealth check, Pinky. Whew. Nah, nobody sees. Pinky, just being sly as she can be, she just kind of like leans against the tower, her pink wings sparkling. And it reads, I'm gonna Discord this to you. I'm not even gonna say it.
okay. Oh my gosh.
She gets her whisper.
While that's going on, Morgan,
She's getting a whisper.
Uh, is anyone looking at Kevis and Pinky's, considering we just basically said we're members of the summer court?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fuck.
You have attention units on you for
Fuck.
sure, especially from the king.
Yeah.
Alright. And as you guys settle down, after fighting fires and almost fighting several things in this place, you are a little bit tired. You can sit down and relax and begin and start the beginnings of a short rest as you're sitting here. And that's where we'll end for today.